Morning.
Oh,
Morning.
Morning.
Minute and a half, then I'll kick it off our lads.
I was sitting there thinking I've got a million different Zoom windows open. I was like, where the fuck am I looking? I was getting proper squeaky bum. Oh, is it shit? Is this recording? Shit, sorry.
No, you're right. That's some photo you got there.
Hey, don't knock it.
I think that was 14-year-old boy.
I've got me.
Oh, sorry. Might as well bloody start. I don't know why we're waiting around. If anyone who's joining late, tough luck. I'm in that sort of mood today. I'm knackered.
Tell me about it, mate. Tell me about it.
Right, anyway, let's go. Welcome to the Flow Show, everybody. Thursday, 27th of March. And as you can see there, I've got two very special guests, Mr. Michael Brown from Pepperstone. What is your title these days? Have you moved up?
I've got a couple of ideas.
Yeah,
I was going to say Jack of all trades, master of none sounds about right, to be honest.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, have you moved up from chief sandwich maker or to chief something else? Or
I'm on the cakes now. Tea and coffee and cake.
He can now cut them into triangles.
No, they don't trust me with a knife.
No, he's no good at technical analysis. He wouldn't be able to draw a triangle. So, no, go on. What are you these days? I know you're chief something or other.
I'm not, actually. Only a meager senior strategist.
Oh, senior.
Yeah.
That's senior chief. That's, round about the same levels. Sort of.
Close enough.
Made up C-suite job.
And as you can see there, we are also joined by the infamous Ryan Paisley, inventor, creator, founder, owner of the famous Peak Suite.
Indeed.
To that later on. You guys know about that. Let's kick you off then, Ryan. What's the latest with the Peak Suite information platform you've got?
So what we got is, for those that are not aware, the platform is basically it's kind of came out, if I do a very brief history. So basically my background, 20 years in markets, professional trading, stepped away from professional trading, realized that if you haven't got access to a Bloomberg terminal or a Reuters terminal, it's very difficult to get breaking news, headlines, and analysis, and access your charts and watch business TV all in one place. It's nearly impossible. So we've come up with our PIQ platform, and the idea, the tagline really, it's Bloomberg News Flow and Reuters News platform for retail traders or day traders. And there you go. There's a nice little example of it up there. It's completely customizable.
Who's that ugly mug in the top right?
Is that handsome one, you mean? Oh no, so I was talking to the other Ryan, not you, obviously. So we've been going out for 18 months or so in this kind of guise. We've had some incredible feedback. We've now got 300 odd feeds on there. We've got all the business TV channels you would like. We've got some charting on there, and we're really starting into that growth phase now, where we're going out to brokers like our partners at Pepperstone, giving access to their users. And also with the likes of yourselves with Forex Analytics, we're getting putting our feeds onto there, and for your listeners as well, I suppose we'll have to give you guys some free promo codes to get people on it. But yeah, happy to give your listeners, let's say 3 months free or whatever it is they want to play around. The model is, it's very much like an app store model. And then when you can drag it onto your platform, you've got conditional filtering on the feeds as well, so you can really get refined on what you're looking at. So if you only want to look at stuff regarding to Trump or whatever, you could pull up a few feeds, combine them into one feed to save even more space, and really get granular on the news that's hitting you. And we've got stuff from Bloomberg, Reuters, Wall Street Journal, even through to some curated Twitter lists. We've got it all really, and at the moment we're adding loads almost every week. So if you haven't checked it out, do check it out. And I'm sorry for the shameless plugging, but yeah, there you go. Anyone wants to know more, come and see me, and I'm sure if you ask me nicely, I'll give you a few free licenses.
Yeah, thank you very much, mate. As you can see there, we are live on the Peak Suite as we speak.
You are indeed. Thank God that's working. Okay.
Yeah, no, I was worried for a minute there. But no, it's all works fine. And as some of you guys may or may not know, you can also gain free access to the Peak Suite via our monthly NFP competition.
Yes, you can.
Oh, here we go.
Here we
Here we go.
which
The
Ryan,
one that it's impossible to win. Is that the same sweepstake?
well, it's impossible for you to win if you don't follow the rules. But let's not get into that again for the third month running.
Well, this is Michael Brown that tries to pick the number at, what was it, 1:31 UK time.
Oh yeah, like 5 seconds before it drops.
Sorry, slow line.
Yeah, exactly. And then doesn't read the rules, picks a number that someone's already taken, and worries when he doesn't win. Anyway,
Typical.
enough of that. But yes, Ryan is very generous in providing us with prizes for our NFP competition. So don't forget to take part in that, which will happen next week, funnily enough. So that'll be going on.
Can I do a shameless plug?
Well, another one. Go on in.
Well, yes, sorry, but obviously myself and Michael Brown and you, but you've just not been able to turn up to the first two, but you promised you're going to turn up to the third one. Anyone that's UK or London based, myself and Michael Brown, just because we realise that people, it's very easy to just be sat at home all day trading and stuff, and it's good to go out and actually have a beer with other people that are interested in trading or just want to chat markets or just want to just go out and meet like-minded people for a few beers, and that's what me and Michael Brown do. But anyway, every non-farm day, me and Michael Brown have now started, and the handsome Ryan, the other Ryan, we're going to be doing what we're calling non-farm pints. So somewhere in the city this week, next week is at Gibney's in Old Street. But yeah, if you're around, check out our posts on Twitter. Everyone's welcome. We did it last month. It was a really good turnout. I promise you, it wasn't boring market talk. Everyone was just having a really good laugh, just talking about war stories and stuff like that. So definitely come on down to that. You've already said, Ryan, you can't do this Friday, but next Friday. But you've promised you're going to do the May one.
I've booked a hotel already.
Oh, have you really?
Yep.
Oh, mate, that's made my day.
Yeah, booked a hotel, mate. So I will be there come hell or high water.
Awesome. Well, and it's not my show. I'll let you talk now.
Yeah, no worries. No, it's always happy to let you plug away, mate. And yes, and it is open to anyone who's not in the UK as well. So if you want to fly in, feel free.
We're not paying your flight though.
Well, I thought you were going to do that, mate. Because so the May one is going to be what's called Ryan Fest, because we're going to have two Ryans there. Mike's buying all the drinks for anyone called Ryan. So change your name by deed poll. Let's get stuck into it. Now, I don't want the boys sitting around picking their nose for too long, so I'm going to rush through all the headlines and what's been going on, and I'll bring them into comment on the various bits and bobs. Going to kick off with the Norges Bank. The held rate steady at 4.5% as expected. They said the rate will most likely be the rate will most likely be reduced in the course of 2025, so still rate cuts to come. They say that restrictive policy is still needed for now. Norges Bank Governor Bakker, I always get his name wrong, her name wrong, Bakker, said the economy has not evolved as we have envisaged. BOE's Dingra, I'm going to bring Mike into this one, kick him off early. A little earlier said we are still at orderly fragmentation at that point. Michael, can you explain orderly fragmentation, please?
In a word, no. I was talking to the boys at New Squawk about this earlier on. It's like if Yoda made monetary policy. I mean, what is she on about? I've genuinely got no idea whatsoever what orderly fragmentation. But of course, if there is disorderly fragmentation, then that could lead to serious price pressures. If that makes any more sense to anyone.
No.
I got to say, in the chat on the side, which this is the first time me learning how to use this thing in the webinar chat. I think Gavin has nailed it really.
Yeah, he does well at doing that. Oh, Gavin.
I'm doffing my hat to Gavin.
I mean, basically, that's all he ever posts on here. Sounds like horseshit to me about most of this stuff.
Is he talking about the statement or just us in general?
So, no,
let's not ask.
The statement. Yeah, it'll be the statement. Don't worry about that. He'll let us know if we're talking all shit as well.
Brilliant.
Right, moving on. ECB's Hawke Holtzman wouldn't vote for a rate cut at the next meeting. That's no shock there. Says rates.
Well, hang on a second. He didn't vote for anything at all at the last meeting because he abstained.
Well, we won't vote for a rate cut at this one. Doesn't mean he's going to vote for anything else. But there you go. He was been on the Hawke bus for quite a few months now. It says rates already neutral territory. Urges caution in reducing the rate further. Says that increased defence spending is seen raising inflation and tariffs are an inflationary threat, which he goes against some of his dovish members who think that tariffs and defence spending will be deflationary, including a certain Mr. Centino at the ECB, who doesn't see any reason for an April pause. He wants to keep cutting. ECB's Kazakhs, who is another hawk, says we can probably keep cutting if the baseline holds. So he's still on the dovish bus. We're going to be heading for a bit of another fight in the nest, I think, guys, over the next ECB meeting, over whether they cut or pause.
Yeah, I agree. I think exactly that. I think whatever the outcome is as well, I think we are. I'd be shocked if we don't have any sources coming out kind of mid statement and stuff. It feels like we're in that period where, talk about fragmentation. It feels like the ECB are incredibly fragmented themselves. So very interesting one to keep an eye on. Obviously, personally, I'm hoping the euro gets absolutely slammed.
Oh no.
Yeah, for those that don't know, there's a lunch bet going on between these two guys.
Very expensive lunch as well.
Yeah,
we're not messing around.
Where are you going? Ponty's?
Well, we're going to the Game Bird in the Stafford Hotel, which, that's where, I think like a bottle of water is going to set you back about 40 quid up there at the moment.
Michael will be drinking air if he loses. So Michael, you got 110, I think, haven't you?
I have, and I was 47 pips away from that being hit. Not that I'm bitter.
Not that you're bitter. And I've got parity. But to be fair, we did put this on months and months ago, it feels like now, when it was trading like 105. And as me and Michael Brown said in the pub the other day, at this point, it doesn't really matter who wins. No one's won for the right reason.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. I'll still think 110 with a shout. That would be the side.
Oh, Ryan, we're meant to stick together.
And I'll say that I'm not even long anymore.
God, it's even worse.
Yeah, I got turfed out of my longs from 105 on the trailing when it broke 50 yesterday. So anyway, onwards and upwards. But yeah,
trade though.
It wasn't bad. I can't complain. Keep the walls from the doors, as they say. Trying to dumb it down. And it was all right, as we say. Anyway, back to the ECB. The market is seeing an April cut at around 80% now. Now, some of that might be a bit mechanical on what's happened in yields and the euro since all the tariff stuff overnight, which I'll get to in a moment. For the UK, public inflation expectations for March have risen to 4% from 3.9%, and for the longer term, 4.2% from 3.9%, according to the latest City YouGov poll. So yet another country where people think inflation is going up. Right, let's touch on it. And I don't want to touch on it too long because, quite frankly, the quicker this moves into the past, the better. Reeves, yesterday, and I caught you guys on your morning blast this morning, so I know you've spoken about this already. Long story short, in the end, it was a load of old crap. All the bad news was pretty much out in advance, so there wasn't really much market reaction. In the end, yields mooched around a little bit. The pound didn't really do anything at all. OBR cut GDP forecast for 2025 in half as expected, but they raised GDP from 2026 onwards, although their forecasts are about as reliable as a chocolate fire guard. Yes. Volatility was killed further after that when they announced the 2025-2026 gilt sales would be around 299 billion, lower than the expected 302-ish billion forecast. So a dull affair overall, guys. What do you make of it? Just to give it a brief one. I know you spoke about it earlier.
Well, I think I'm still recovering from the fact that Reeves said that she's fixed the foundations of the economy. I don't think I'm going to recover from that, to be quite fair. How and why she managed to say that, she is obviously more clueless than I had originally thought, and the bar was pretty low. Or she just takes us all for mugs. I know Michael loves talking about Rachel Reeves, so I will defer more to him.
He's got a different.
I love the way he just cleared his throat before getting involved.
Yeah, I mean, it's all pretty grim, isn't it? To be completely honest, I mean, it's fundamentally, like we spoke about this morning. I mean, obviously, Ryan, you've covered off everything that in terms of the measures. I mean, fundamentally, we're still stuck in this kind of doom loop of having very, very little by way of a buffer or headroom with which the fiscal rules are being met, 9.9 billion quid, which means that anything in terms of minor economic shock and a further rise in gilt yields or growth panning out more pessimistically or worse than the OBR project, which, let's be honest, isn't going to be particularly difficult. And Rachel Reeves is back in the autumn to try and balance the books, probably at that point from tax hikes. So it is all a little bit depressing, really. We're just stuck in this situation where you cut spending, get the headroom back, headroom gets eroded, you raise taxes, that lowers growth, so you erode your headroom even more. And it's going to be very, very difficult to get out of that when the Chancellor severely lacks the credibility that's needed to make those fiscal rules more efficient and actually incentivize longer term investment over short term balancing of the books. So yeah, fundamentally, it hasn't really changed the UK outlook particularly much, and I think really
Still
things are
buggered.
going to remain rather grim.
Yeah. I think we're all in
absolutely.
agreement, right?
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
absolutely.
And for us traders, we can probably switch back to trading anything else now, apart from what's going on in UK finances and whatnot.
Yeah.
We're already seeing some moves on the tariff stuff, and I'm going to speak about euro sterling because I think it might be getting its Teflon coat on regarding all that stuff. But the other important thing to come from the Reeves thing is that we nearly got a full house on
Oh, did we
bullshit bingo.
really? Oh,
Yeah,
no. So we got a line.
we did. We got a line. It was playing noughts and crosses. We've done all right. But we came
Mate,
three short.
that's about as far as I go with games wise. I'm not, as you know, I'm not the most switched on bloke.
Yeah, well, I decided to take Michael's bingo board and give it a go, and yeah, we came in three short of a full house. But
That's brilliant.
there you go. Next time.
But
And
that
it'll
just
be
shows
already in August.
it just shows how depressingly obvious it was going to be, right? It's just an absolute nightmare. But like as Michael was alluding to, and without dwelling on it too much, but it seems like at every possible turn they're making the wrong decision, and it's getting ridiculous. It's like, for instance, a good friend of all of ours, Polemic Pain on Twitter, went to ChatGPT and said, how would you improve? If you were the chancellor, what would be the measures you take? And to be fair, what it came out with was an incredible. Sorry, there's a seagull flying above my head at the moment. But what it came back with was just genuinely an incredibly pro-growth kind of agenda. And you were just like, if only Rachel Reeves had access to ChatGPT. It was phenomenal. Have you guys seen the post? I'll put up on the chat now.
Yeah, stick it up, mate. Have a look at that. I
Well,
wouldn't be surprised.
one thing she definitely doesn't have access to, as I found out from my freedom of information
yeah.
request, is a Bloomberg terminal. It's probably just as well because the 10-year gilt this morning is another 7 basis points higher. So yet again, although the market seemed to digest the statement relatively well yesterday, it seems to be a bit of a delayed reaction to you've again left yourself very, very little wriggle room and margin for error, and predictably the market is taking that relatively poorly. And again, yes, fixed income is selling off across developed markets, but gilts are again significantly underperforming peers.
Yeah.
Hang on a minute. You did a freedom of information request?
Yes,
What
You
a proper
did?
one.
I did.
Really?
Yeah, I've got the email kicking around somewhere to find
That
out
is
not
so
only
nerdy.
Oh
that's
God!
what.
Just when I think I couldn't love you anymore.
Let me dig the email out because it was here he is. I've got it flagged here. Bear with. Let me open him up.
Mate,
Yeah,
I
so I
know
was.
sorry, I know I take the mick that I'm kind of quite proud about how much you drink nowadays, but if you've got time for that, I don't think you drink enough.
But no, so this was back at the start of January when gilts were really selling off across the curve. And it turns out that across the entirety of the Treasury, they have 11 Bloombergs and 4 Reuters terminals, and neither the Chancellor nor a deputy has access to either of them,
Yeah, I
which
saw you
is
post
incredibly
that.
reassuring.
I saw you post that, but I didn't realize it was you that did the investigative
Yeah,
journalism.
neither did I. I thought someone else had done
This
it
has
and you
blown
just
my
stolen it.
mind.
No.
Yeah,
I
that's
thought
what I
I'd
mean.
make a bit of a menace of myself.
I actually didn't hear anything past I did a freedom of information when he was speaking a minute ago. Absolutely amazing. So nerdy and so amazing at the same time.
It's so on brand.
But it's
Yeah.
shocking that you've got, what, 2, 3, 4,000 people at the Treasury? You've got 11 terminals to go round them. I mean, it kind of helps explain why they're all asleep at the wheel, doesn't it?
I am. Well, I know I'm going to tap up now for some PIQ licenses.
There you go, marketing. You get over another lunch. Right, let's move on. I don't want to spend all day talking about poxy rings. And no need to apologise. Gives me shivers. Right, let's have a look at a bit of data that was out yesterday from the good old US. Durable goods with a little bit of a mixed set of numbers, shall we say. Goods orders turning around at the expected loss 0.9%, which was pretty good, but the non-defense XAir number coming in a little bit negative. Take a bit of a shine off that. I did look up the details, as I mentioned yesterday, just to keep an eye on the more consumer related products. There were flat orders for computers and electricals. Other computer related parts were up 1.1% though, and appliances, white goods and the like, were up 2%. So there's nothing in that lot to suggest that there's any wobbles coming from people looking to get goods into shops and the like.
Who's
so
the nerdy one now going through that line by line?
Oh, don't try and pass the buck now,
calm
mate.
down, Michael. Calm down.
Yeah. You can do. You want to know who's a nerdy one? Do a freedom of information.
Sit down, Michael. Sit down.
Yeah. Pipe down. I'll put you on mute. I can probably yellow card you. It's my show. I'll put you on mute for tonight. Fed's cash and carry says we made a lot of progress bringing inflation down. Still more work to do. Says the Fed should sit where we are. Fed's Mausoleum says the risks of inflation stalling above 2% and moving higher in the near term seem to have increased. We need patience with current policy. It's appropriate as evidence on inflation is gathered. It's probable that in the near term inflation will be higher and growth lower than expected. And how about this one? Mr. Powell has found a surprise ally from none other than Elizabeth Warren. I mean, she is his kryptonite. She is his Lex Luthor, really. She hates him. But apparently she's warning that Powell could be fired by Trump if he has his way of being able to sack federal members or federal workers, and that he may fall in the way. And that would cause market turmoil. So Powell can't win. But a surprise
Turmoil
hero.
might be an understatement on that one. I think there's a very, very slim chance of it happening. But if it did, then all bets are well and truly off.
It feels like one of those things that, I know it's a bit of a cliche, but it's one of those, like, it's not a big deal until it's a massive deal. You know what I mean? It's like, as you said, it's so unlikely to happen, but by God, if it did happen.
Yeah, and of course, because it's so unlikely, it means that absolutely no one has got even the smallest of hedges on for the eventuality that might happen.
Exactly that. It's like,
I've got a hedge on.
Have you really?
Have you?
Yeah, I'm long purple tie puts.
Oh,
oh my God, I was genuinely expecting a serious answer.
Yeah, so was I. I was expecting some really highly complex structured derivative or something around how you're hedging this risk, expiry in May 26, and then it's like, no, just ties.
Purple ties, of course. I might be long. I might hedge that with a bit of long silver ties. But
or get some long, some fake tan for the European cross.
But it would be a shit hit fan moment if that ever happens. But,
definitely.
Never rule anything out with the orange one.
Exactly.
Right, over in Canada, new PM Carney says if he wins the election, his government would create a $2 billion Canadian fund to boost the auto sector's competitiveness. Everyone's getting into the fund game now. Germany, Canada, the others, they want to get in the fund game now. Maybe they should get Cathy Wood to oversee it. Says our partners in Asia share our values, but they don't include China. And we need to be very careful about doing trade with China, which is a line that he's going to set up a bum fight with the Chinese, no doubt. Yeah. Right, Mr. Trump, he decided he'd been a bit quiet recently, so decided to slap 25% tariffs on autos on all non-US made cars. This is going to kick off in what's now Liberation. Is that an official name, Liberation Day, or has he just made it up? Because you never know with America what
Do
they
you know
have.
Well, I
what?
think he
started
made it
off-
up, but
Yeah, it definitely that. It started off as a made up name, but it's now pretty much the official one. People are talking about like Liberation Day Eve and stuff like that already.
For fuck's sake.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, no.
Yeah, so April the 2nd. He should have made it April the 1st. That would have been even better.
Oh,
The
yes,
old,
Well, I
that's
think
the trick there.
to be fair to you, I did hear him say in a press conference the other day along the lines of, I couldn't have done April the 1st because no one would have believed me, which is probably the most truthful thing he said in the last 3 months.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So anyway, we're getting tariffs apparently on April the 2nd, but as we've learned twice already, such things can get kicked and booted and deals get done in the meantime. He's also already kicked the can on tariffs on auto parts until May. So that I think that was already in the pipeline after talking to automakers in the US who were up in arms when he said he was going to do that. He says there will also be higher tariffs if the EU collaborates with Canada against us. He dropped that in a truth bomb handily. As you might expect, everyone's been out and about shouting from the rooftops. Ontario Premier Ford has vowed retaliation and will inflict as much trade pain as possible. Von der Leyen has taken a bit of a more pragmatic approach. They said they will assess the situation, but the EU will seek negotiated solutions while safeguarding economic interests. Even Japanese PM Ishiba was up in arms. He said he's considering an appropriate response and all options are on the table, and then went on to remark about how they've made significant investment and job creation in the US. And you may remember a couple of weeks ago when he met Trump, he promised to buy loads of stuff and get on board with them. So he's a bit surprised that he's going to get hit with that. But I think, and this is where I'm talking about market implications and reactions, I think you get the likes of Japan piping up, but they have played ball with Trump since he got in there. So I think when we get to the deadline day, you're going to find countries like Japan who may get a softer ride, or he's not going to upset that apple cart. So that's going to be potentially moving for the yen.
Yeah, do you know what? I'm with you on that one, because especially Japan, South Korea, they've been very, very proactive in the build up to this, in the past 3-4 months. Japan especially, committing hundreds of billions of dollars of investment into the US for, to get out of the, to not be sucked into the other group of the tariffs and such. So the fact that overnight, basically, it was almost like a reaffirmation that Trump's going to, almost all those investment commitments were going to be thrown out the window. Well, not thrown out the window, but like he doesn't care about them anymore. They're still getting tariffs. I get an impression that that's more of a bargaining tactic, maybe to force the hand, or to narrow the vision on the other countries that haven't invested in the US. They're like, now look, if they're doing that to Japan, we definitely aren't getting off on this. So it could be a bit of like gamesmanship, but I think you're right. I'd be quite shocked if Japan, South Korea, and anyone that's just recently volunteered to invest hundreds of billions into the US economy, if they don't get special treatment. I'd be shocked if they don't get special treatment. So yeah, I'm with you on that one. I think there could be some upside to be had there when we do see it, and it could be 1 minute to midnight knowing Trump before we get the answer.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm with you on that one, mate. Even China Z's got out his sofa. He's apparently going to meet with BMW, Mercedes, and Qualcomm CEOs, according to sources piece. So, who's you right there?
Who?
I don't know. I just hear someone mumbling in the background.
Not me.
Wasn't me for once.
Must be my stomach then, because I've not had breakfast. Right, back on. And even Musk has had a little tweet up, shall we say. He says tariffs will affect Tesla car parts from other countries, and that cost impact will not be trivial. As you can imagine, auto stocks have taken a bit of a bashing this morning. Right, Ukraine stuff. Well, why did I even mention it? I saw that tweet earlier, and I thought, no, not today. I'm ignoring it. I'm ignoring it.
Exactly that.
But I blame myself.
Sorry,
Yeah,
I'm
over in
not
Ukraine.
really.
Stop it! Ukraine presidential official says at least 8 energy facilities have been attacked by Russia since the supposed ceasefire on energy stuff since March the 18th. Nearly 2 weeks into this ceasefire that hasn't happened yet. So that back and forth is still going on between them two. Busybody Macron says Russia is far from showing that it wants peace. So he's not happy. Right, another. It's going to be talked about, but most probably definitely won't happen. We're playing debt ceiling blow up again.
God. Yeah.
I've got to mention it because
Yeah. No, you're right.
it's if it's in the headlines, people are going to be paying attention to it.
Yes.
So anyway,
Mhm.
the debt default risk is going to happen potentially by August because the Congressional Budget Office, the US's OBR spending watchdog, is warning of a looming crisis over the debt ceiling. May is the possible earliest crunch time. Those that haven't played this game a million times before, this always comes up. The can always gets kicked, but don't rule out the closer we get to any deadlines, the market just gets a little bit antsy about it. But we're early days yet, so that's as far as I'm going to go on it. Got any thoughts, guys?
Just why the hell do we have to do this pantomime all over again? We all know exactly what's going to happen. There's going to be a load of legislative maneuvering and Trump trying to squeeze various other bits and bobs in as concessions around the debt limit. But ultimately, whether it's today, in a week, in a month, or 2 minutes before the deadline, the debt ceiling is guaranteed to be raised. And
Yeah.
anyone who says otherwise, I will more than happily take the other side of that bet with you.
And this is it. Just echoing what my dear friend Ryan and Michael Brown said. Well, actually, no, I've got to be nice to him because he might be getting me a pint later. Sorry about that, Michael. But yeah, exactly that. It's one of these things. It comes around all the time. You've got to have it on the radar just because it is such a big deal. Funny enough, it's exactly what I said before, right? It's one of those. It's a non-story until it's the biggest story of all time. But again, and also as Ryan pointed out, the nearer we get, even if market participants are certain that it won't happen, they're obligated, mandated to be putting on hedges or just having some kind of protection. So that's why sometimes, and this is where especially the tourists, I think, get sucked in a little bit. One, they're calling for it to be a default anyway, and then the market, as we get closer to it, the market will start making moves, look like to a tourist that, oh my god, the market's starting to price it in as well. When it's not, it's basically these are just hedges going on, which are dislocating prices and stuff. So just one thing to be aware of, that the nearer we get to it, and again, it's a long way off, it's August. If the markets do start moving, that doesn't mean that market participants are starting to pricing a default. They're literally just squaring books, or just because they have to have protection. Most of them are mandated to have protection.
No, you are absolutely right. Like if you think
Say that
about
again?
it, if you're if
So
you
it's
are sat
recorded.
there if you are sat there running a book, you can't realistically be in a position where a week before a deadline, if there is nothing agreed, you have no protection in place.
Yeah,
Your
exactly
risk
that.
guys will just simply not let you do that.
Yeah.
And certainly you don't want to be the one clown out there who, if this out of the blue event did happen, you're sat there going, "Oh shit, I forgot to hedge it."
Right.
So even though we all know it's not going to happen, you still have to act as if it could happen, just in case pigs start flying or whatever.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
also, at the end of the day, it is Trump, so anything could happen.
Well,
I'm not sure how you hedge this anyway. If the US
No, I'm not.
defaults, the whole financial system blows up, so it doesn't matter what hedge you got on.
Cans of
yeah,
spam.
The only thing you'd be worth being long of is gold.
Yeah,
And I'm
funny
wondering
enough,
whether
yeah.
that's the reason it's gone up.
But this is another thing, right? So again, I hark back to the global financial crisis. It's all right having like paper gold. Well, I say paper gold. Maybe a long gold on CME or whatever like that. But back then, I remember, and Ryan, you'll remember this too. You could be trading stuff that was completely safe, like I was trading energy at the time. And it wasn't about my trades blowing up overnight. It was the fact that I'd come into work and not knowing if my clearinghouse was still active. So
Yeah.
if no matter what positions you have, if the US does default, then it's going to be such a massive deal that the clearing houses, exchanges might not open. That is how big it is. That you're going to see massive trading shops go bust. So you're completely right, Ryan. Gold is pretty much probably the only thing you can hedge with. But even then, it can't be gold held on an exchange or via like a clearinghouse. It has to be physical gold. And again, I'm not saying go out and buy gold because I don't believe for a second it happens. But just gaming it out, that's how bad things would get.
Yeah, it's. I say it every time. The situation is too big for it to go pop.
Yeah,
It's
exactly
too
that.
big for it to go pop.
It is. It is the biggest of all biggest. Too big to fail.
Yeah. So keep that in the back of your mind. And if we get to a point where it's peak fear, I'm going to be taking the other side of that.
Yes,
Because
exactly
even if
that.
I'm wrong, there ain't going to be a world that's going to catch
Yes.
up with me to get money out of me anyway.
No, do you know what? It's exactly that. It's that whole joke about if you see a meteorite coming towards you, buy stocks. Because on the plus, the upside is it might miss. The downside is you're dead anyway. So
Exactly. See, look, that's the best trading advice you'll probably get
there you go.
this year. Go long on meteorite attacks. Right, that's it on the headline front. Anyway, I've got to look at some prices. Otherwise, I can see them already chomping at the bit in the chat here. Himashu, pound Kiwi. I'm going to give that to Ryan. No, I'm going to give that to Michael. He's probably got
Thank
some
God
text
for that.
going on. Pound Kiwi.
Oh,
My viewers do like to drop these things on me. I probably haven't even got it in my list. Let me have a look. Pound Kiwi. Anyone see it there? No. Bloody hell. So I'm not.
Oh no, that's Euro Kiwi. Sorry.
there is a difference, right?
All right. Yeah.
Might have something on there. Got anything on there? No, I've got absolutely nothing. Right, Himashu, you know the drill by now. What are you looking at, mate? You're looking at long, shorts, or whatever in this one. I've really got nothing to say. It's bang in the middle of a bit of a range at the moment. Middle of the range, middle of the range, middle of the range. What do you want to do with it, mate? Let me know, and then I'll give you my view on it.
The interesting, speaking of New Zealand, me and Michael mentioned this a little while ago, and Michael makes the good point that obviously New Zealand was in a very low starting point, but New Zealand is outperforming Australia at the moment, and it's not very often you see that.
Yeah, but it's different things, isn't it? Australia really hasn't seen a sort of slump like everyone else has. It's sort of carried on trucking along pretty much. While the Arbiters been cutting hither and thither.
Yeah, they did make some absolute howling decisions, obviously over COVID and stuff, and they locked down far too long stuff. But since the new government's been in, it's hard to fault them really.
Yeah. So basically, what we're saying is you want to be, long sheep and short creepy crawlies.
Creepy crawlies.
Yeah, I don't know how you get that trade on, and how are you going to hit that? Yeah. Okay.
I'll tell you what, if you can find someone to clear that one, I'll pay the money. I'll pay your margin myself.
I'll have a chat to the risk desk.
Oh God.
Right, Gavin. What was Gavin got? He's got 4-hour zone 2.2580. So you've got. Let's do the old lines again. 2.2. I know. Look, Gavin likes a zone. So there, and then from 2680. So we like to do things on the fly here sometimes, or way up there. Let's colour that in quickly. Do me little painting job. That's Gavin's zone there. Yep, I can get with that, mate. Bit of a zonal going on there, but I don't even, as you can see, I don't even look at this one most times. I mean, I'll be looking just this intraday range, probably short term, 2.24s up to 2.25s. And then you've got a couple of winder extensions there as well. But yeah, let us know what you're doing, Himashu. Then I'll know what I'm talking about at least.
Yeah.
Right, we'll have a look at gold. Yeah, go on, mate.
No,
I was just chuckling at you.
Yeah, I'm just agreeing.
Yeah, there's stuff I just don't want to get involved in because I say to people, if you can trade one thing well, you can trade everything. Okay, but you know what it's like. I think people maybe too much go looking for trades instead of sticking with decent stuff. If you find you're looking at 15 pairs to find a trade, you're doing something wrong. You don't need to be doing that. But I also admit there's trends that develop between different fundamentals and whatnot. So I'm not knocking anyone for looking for opportunities in these markets.
I think that's a good point. Actually, I think I think when we say this, we're not saying like don't go looking, but what we're saying is if you find yourself desperate to trade and you're having to call up random pairs just to try and find a setup, that's probably when it's more of a sign of ill discipline. But that doesn't mean that if something's going on a on a certain pair that it's a good setup. That doesn't mean don't take it. It just means if you're going hunting for it, exactly what Brian just said, trading for trading's sake, and going hunting for a setup which might not naturally be in your eye line is definitely it's a road to ruin, and it's a very clear sign of ill discipline. You may think,
Yeah.
oh no, I'm being disciplined because I'm sticking to my strategy, but the fact you've gone out and had to search just shows that you're going, you're reaching too far. A lot of the time, as Ryan, as you all know, you've just got to sit on your hands and wait for good setups to come to you.
Yeah, absolutely, mate.
I almost sound like I know what I'm talking about.
You do know what you're talking about, very much so, mate. I know you've been in the game long enough, longer as me probably, but trading's trading. You get the eye for it, and you know what to do, the discipline and everything else that follows.
Exactly.
Gold. See, this might be a bit of a setup happening here because we're having a look
again,
at
isn't it?
these highs. What's that, mate?
I was saying it's starting to shine again.
Oh God!
Crying out
Really?
loud.
Have you got a red card?
Yeah, I have actually. I've got one in my drawer. They pop up on the trade-off now and again when he's particularly bad. But terrible. He's terrible.
It is.
Anyway.
We're about $0.50 off fresh record highs again.
No, yeah, well,
Yeah, it doesn't mean you have to put out the puns, though, does it?
yeah,
Well, it
no,
does.
this is
It
it.
does. It really does. I mean, these are my salad days. I've got to make the most of them.
Well, I'll tell you what. Take note because you probably use some of these on next week's trade-off show that I'm pointing out here. So get your pencil out. But anyway, yeah, this could be setting up for a potential break, or it could be setting up for one hell of a double top coming in. So this level today is going to be very important. If we tap that and can't get through, then as time goes on, we might be setting up for something a bit similar to what we had previously down here. But keep an eye on this one. And if we do hit the top, but we only pull back to sort of this 45 level, and we don't get under there, and we get a bit of zigzag between there and there, again, that would look likely that we might be on for a break. So I may even think about putting some buy stops in just above that high, just to see if we get something along those lines. Quick look around the rest, because I don't want to keep these gents too long.
Can I just flag something on the gold chart just briefly?
Yeah, go on, mate.
One thing, obviously, I do love taking the mickey out of gold bugs because they always get excited just before the rug gets pulled. But yeah, I think you're exactly right there. I think if it does kind of hover and I think the longer it consolidates in this little channel you got there, like above 3045 to the high, I think that's where kind of you think, hang on a second, we could be building something. But my only concern is, and it is very much a kind of almost like a tariff play this at the moment. My concern is the old cliche, buy the rumor, sell the fact. And once we have clarity, and once the tariffs do go into effect, or what tariffs do finally go into effect on January the 2nd, Liberation Day. I'm doing air quotes, but no one can see me. I think it is teed up to be a buy the rumor, sell the fact. And I think, there's so much bad news in terms of tariffs priced in already. Yeah. My gut says that January the 3rd, gold could be trading a fair bit lower, but again, nothing on here is trading advice. I'm getting the spider senses itching.
Yeah, the old gut feeling, and it can serve you well sometimes, not all the time, but it can serve you well a lot of the times. But on the tariff thing, we are getting though what I was expecting, which is less of a reaction in markets to all this news. I mean, this is dollar CAD just after he's announced 25% tariffs and another bum fight with them. This was the first tariff move. This was the second deadline move. And after that, it's just washed out. So we're not seeing a bigger reaction in particularly currencies. I mean, equities is a different kettle of fish. So I think perhaps we're seeing maybe a bit more of a shift towards actual assets that are going to be directly impacted rather than broader things like currencies, because the dollar MEX is exactly the same. It's had a move back up, but not compared to what we've seen previously over these tariff threats, these two big spikes here. We've done nothing. So, I think it's still tradable. I think I might add back to my short. I'm still short this one, $MEX. I might add some bits back on because I think Ryan's absolutely right. We'll get a resolution, can kick or whatever, or the market will go there. We don't give a fuck. And we see this heading much lower, and the same for dollar CAD. We are back in this zone. So we've not got a proper hold below it yet. Oh, I'm still on my pencil. We've not got a proper hold below it yet. So there's no chance of getting down here until you start to see this area here holding as resistance. Get that, we're probably going to get the shove down, but it might be news led, shall we say. Well, Michael, you've been quiet on the old tech front. Come on, what tech are you looking at and what pairs before we close up?
I was going to go back to gold because I vehemently disagree with what you were saying on that front. I think the bull case for gold is, and I'm not a gold bug by any stretch, but I think the bull case for gold is a pretty solid one over the longer term, certainly, because one, it's a momentum trade, and two, pretty much everyone in EM is trying to diversify their reserves away from the dollar. Now, I'm not claiming that it's the death of the dollar before anyone starts to put that quote in my mouth, but it does seem that there is an increasing desire to look for alternative options. And obviously, in an environment of high uncertainty, high inflation, naturally focus starting to lean towards precious metals a little bit more. So I'd be comfortable staying long there. In terms of the market more broadly, I mean, it feels like the FX space has kind of been suffering from a bit of tariff fatigue over the last kind of week or so, as you were just alluding to with your chart there. Of course, it is also, to coin a cliche, the end of the month, the end of the quarter, so maybe some flows making a bit of a mess of things. But I do think we're still fundamentally in an environment where the idea of US economic exceptionalism is pretty much dead at this point. And I think actually it's a case of the market probably hasn't adjusted its growth expectations low enough in terms of the US at the moment. So I do see, once we are perhaps past this Liberation Day nonsense, I would think the dollar's downtrend could potentially resume. But of course, the other wild card is the jobs report next Friday, and I think fundamentally it's a market that's just waiting for a bit of a catalyst, whether it be in terms of tariffs, whether it be in terms of that jobs number, whether it be something else entirely, maybe even something on the geopolitical front. I mean, if we get a sustainable ceasefire in Ukraine, that would probably push the euro, I hope, back towards the 110 mark. But yeah, it feels on the whole, on the whole, it just feels like a market that certainly is lacking conviction. No one wants to be particularly long of risk right now, and a market that just really needs something new to latch onto.
Yeah, absolutely. And blimey, burnt through the time. I just want to put a final out there. Yes, we are in month end, quarter end. We are trading value date end of month today. So this is, you can be the big corporate fixes. So keep an eye on the clock around the tops of the hours. If you're in our chat room, I'm not going to put it out live here, but if you're in our chat room, I'm going to be speaking about another fix, a new fix that might be something that that comes up tomorrow. I'm not going to tell everyone what it is because I don't want to spread it out. I'll tell you guys later behind the scenes. But it's a new one, and I want to keep it quiet because I don't want everyone knowing about it in case it moves the markets and we can make some money from it. So
rightly so.
We'll chat about that in the chat room, and I'll tell you guys about it anyway. Right, let's call that a day because that's been a good 47 minutes. Look at that. Bonza. Thank you very much, Mr. Brown. Thank you very much, Mr. Paisley.
Pleasure.
Thank you for having me on
and sharing your wise words and join us here. You can always check these guys out on the socials at Mr. M Brown and at Peak Suite, PIQ Suite. So go ahead there, and there's links in there, and obviously you can get everything on our website as well, links to those guys, and check out their things. And if you want a freebie from Ryan, then just hit him up and he'll sort you out, or join us on the NFP competitions that we run each month. So thank you very much, guys, for coming on board. We'll definitely get you on again. And
brilliant.
Thank
Honestly,
you to all
really
of you.
Enjoyed it. Yeah. Really enjoyed it. Really grateful for the chance to get on, and thank you to all the people in the webinar chat and the listeners. Much love to you all.
Thank you very much, mate. And same to you, Michael.
Indeed. Thanks for having me, mate.
No problem. Right. We'll catch you tomorrow, and I'll have another guest on as well. Otherwise, I'll see you later on Face. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day all. We'll catch up later.